don't even know I'm here. They don't even know I'm here.
Imagine this. A married couple is trying to steal back a valuable heirloom from a troublesome kid. I am today's host, Nathan, and I'll be explaining 2021's Home Sweet Home Alone. This movie is alternatively titled Home Alone 6 as the sixth installment in the Home Alone franchise. It begins at the Mackenzie household. There is an open house going on there. It seems they want to sell the house and are showing it to potential buyers. Mr. Washington is their agent and mentions the benefits of the house and the neighborhood to an interested couple. Jeff Mackenzie is being uncooperative with his answers. He hasn't really settled on the idea of selling the house and so says things about the area that might discourage buyers. Also, Carol is on the road with Max, her son. Max desperately wants to use the toilet, and he begs his mother to pull over. She'd rather he used a proper toilet. She soon sees a sign pointing to the Mackenzie open house. Max will ease himself there under the guise that she is checking out the house too. Apparently, it is more dignified than peeing in the open. While there, Jeff retrieves a box of dolls as he talks to Max. Carol comes in and makes a comment about the dolls. She says they could potentially cost a fortune to sell.
5,000.
Wow, $5,000.
That evening, the Mackenzie children arrive. Chris, Abby, and their parents scamper around because they haven't yet told the children that their house is for sale. At the Mercer household, it's a different ballgame. Carol is on the phone with a travel agent, and there are extended family members and children everywhere. Max is frustrated by this and goes into the garage where it's quiet and locks the car door behind him. He then puts on some in-car entertainment and reclines. While Jeff and Pam Mackenzie sleep that night, Hunter and his wife Mai with their toddler son Ollie arrive in the middle of the night. So the Mackenzies are forced out of bed to receive them. Later on, Jeff takes out time to do some research on the dolls he found. He is able to confirm that they actually cost a fortune. He goes over to check on them but realizes the doll in question is missing. He figures Max must have stolen it when he came by. He is also able to trace the Mercer residence online. The next morning, he goes over to the Mercer house but catches them at a bad time. They are already leaving for the airport. Jeff hangs around long enough to overhear the passcode to the front door as well as where the key is usually kept. Once the Mercers leave in a hurry, Jeff tries to enter the house so he can retrieve his stolen doll but chickens out.
What the heck are you looking at?
He meets up with Pam, his wife, at the old people's home where he has a Christmas carol singing engagement, and they plan things even further. Max wakes up in the car parked in the family garage and enters the house. He calls out to his mom and dad, but no one answers. He then realizes he might be home alone and thinks aloud, saying, "This must be a Christmas miracle."
It's a Christmas miracle.
He proceeds to do whatever he likes, seeing nobody is around to caution him. He does it all, from video games to mountains of candy to racing simulations. The Mackenzies are at a town fair, and as they walk through, Jeff and Pam discuss the issue of stealing back their doll. Pam is reluctant because she thinks it's against the law. Meanwhile, Hunter and his family throw themselves about and buy gifts for Abby and Chris as well as Ollie, their son. They soon get back home, and Pam receives a notification from Mr. Washington, who is their real estate agent. This prompts her to think twice about selling the house. She recalls the happy times they shared together as a family in the same house. As she daydreams, she subconsciously blurts out her desire to get the doll by any means necessary.
Let's go.
Where are we going?
To get some eggnog.
She grabs Jeff, and they head out the door, leaving the others without any good answers as to where they are going. They get to the Mercer property amidst the heavy snowfall and are able to gain entry. Except that Jeff keys in the wrong passcode. They search the house briefly with some flashlights. Max is still at home, and he spots them. So he calls the police, and soon enough, Officer Buzz arrives. Jeff and Pam try to run but think of a better alibi. Pam says it's their house when the police officer asks her about the tripped-off alarm. Out there in Tokyo, Carol is apprehensive. They are at the hotel and have just discovered Max isn't with them. Carol desperately decides to get on the next flight back home. The police back home have also been notified that Max is alone at home. They pass the message on to Officer Buzz, who just so happens to be close to the house. But he desists from going because he has just been there. He is convinced it's a prank call, just as Pam suggested earlier. Carol's desperation to get home as quickly as possible at the airport shows through. The Mackenzies are attending church. Max just so happens to have left the house and come over to the same church. He is scanning the toys donated for less privileged children when Chris, who is Jeff's son, approaches him. They talk briefly, and at the end, Max goes away with a toy machine gun.
Nice kid.
It's the kid.
Jeff and Pam accidentally recognize him and think that while he is still at church, they can hurry down to the house and retrieve their doll before Max gets back.
We'll go around back.
And once there, they decide to take the back of the house. They try to climb a too-high wall but eventually find a side gate. It turns out it's the wrong house, and they fall into the iced-out swimming pool there. Max also overhears them seeming to talk about kidnapping him. To be clear, they are after the doll, but Max thinks they are after him. Jeff and Pam decide that they will dress up as Santa Claus and his helper for Max to let his guard down the next time around. They soon get back to their family and have to make up an excuse about where they have been. A few gifts are exchanged that evening, and Jeff and Pam pretend like they are into the celebrations. They even pretend to retire to bed early. But when the clock strikes midnight, they get out. Jeff is dressed in a Santa suit while Pam is in black, and they soon arrive at Max's residence. Before now, Max has booby-trapped the whole house with supplies from the store and a little improvising. He has made the driveway super slippery and rigged the garden tap to splash whoever uses it. He has also laid out some hot chili snacks and hot milk for the so-called pretend Santa. Then there are the large-size soda drink bombs. Once Jeff and Pam get to the house, they are met with a super slippery driveway.
I think I shattered my coccyx.
They simply can't move forward and constantly fall over on their asses. When Jeff gets to the door ultimately, he finds the snacks and mistakenly thinks they are well-intentioned. Once he takes a bite, it burns him and the milk worsens it even more. He has to dive headfirst into the snow to cool his mouth down. Pam goes through the back and is met with a soda bomb triggered by the mints Max put in it. There are a lot of bombs. Apparently, the Mercer family buys their soda in bulk to be more cost-effective. When the bombs are exhausted, Max triggers another booby trap. It involves an ignited firecracker tied to a toy car that lands at Pam's feet and sets her shoes ablaze. She rushes over to the garden tap and quenches the fire. She also tries to talk with Max about a ceasefire. While Jeff lays unconscious, Max pulls an AVR set over his head. So when he wakes up, he thinks he is atop a mountain. He is confused at this and tries to jump from one rock to another. However, he jumps into a cupboard in the real world, and it falls on him. Pam is outside trying to get in. Her feet are cold and hot at the same time, meaning she finds it extremely difficult to walk. Jeff's head is obstructing the door, and without knowing this, she continuously jams the door into his head. Once inside, she takes off the AVR set and sees that Jeff has a huge bump from the door. Max releases a bag of flour and a keg of milk flying through the air toward Jeff. Pam chases him but trips on the stairs because there is water on them. She follows him upstairs and falls for a decoy where she pulls a string hanging from the ceiling. There are 2 dart shooters rigged there, and they puncture her all over. She steps into another room with Lego bricks all over. She is still experiencing the painful feat of fire and ice. So you can only imagine her anguish when she steps on the Lego bricks scattered everywhere. When she drags herself to where Max is, he lets fly an exercise weight or 2, and she is thrown all the way downstairs. Jeff takes over from where she left off, and Max shoots him with an 8-ball which he catches mid-flight. Max then jumps off the balcony onto the trampoline below.
A ladder!
Jeff tries to follow suit, but Max pulls out one of the trampoline legs, and so Jeff bounces off and is propelled onto a tree before crashing into the garbage. They are all soon inside the house again, and it's a standoff. Pam is pointing a toy gun at Max this time, and Max accuses them of trying to kidnap him. This is when things get properly clarified. Jeff and Pam insist they are after their doll and not him. They also discover he has been alone at home all the while, and they are sorry for everything. Max drops his toy gun, and they all hug. They also decide to get their story straight. Back at their house, they are narrating the sequence of the events to their family. Except, they have taken out the desperate parts of the story. They also lay emphasis on the missing doll and how it could have changed everything financially. Their kids read in between the lines and realized the plan was always to sell the house and move away. It's their only option going forward. But then, Ollie appears with the same doll they have moved heaven and earth for all along. He throws it over the stairs, and Jeff risks his life to catch it but misses. Pam does the same but ends up hitting her head. It will take a more coordinated Max to catch it at the bottom of the stairs. So their money ticket in the form of the doll is not damaged. Just then, Max's mother Carol rings the doorbell. She is happy to see that Max is safe and she hugs him as they head over to their house.
I miss you so. Believe how much I missed you. This is gonna be two of us.
Once Carol opens the door, she sees that it's a huge mess.
There's a very reasonable explanation.
On their part, the Mackenzies assure their children that they don't have to move away anymore. A year later, both the Mackenzies and the Mercers are having a Christmas dinner together as they make a toast to family.
To new friends and
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from Imagine This, and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.